then it smells like a Christmas tree.
Quick question for Carl. Have you smelled it? I don't.
Oh yeah,
I
I
mean,
have smelled it. I bought it.
Yeah.
Richard Davenport used to use this for action stuff, and so
Okay.
I bought a can of it. And the first time I used it, I said, "Oh, this is horrible. I wouldn't use this in a person's home ever." That's what I said.
Been an improvement. Ballistol has recently added, maybe in the last several years, added a foaming agent, and that foaming agent reduces the aerosol, so you don't smell it near as much. If yours didn't foam when you were applying it,
No, I have an older one without the
the
foam.
older can. Yeah, the new one doesn't have that much smell, and I don't get any complaints. I know what you're talking about, and I had a few complaints early on, and then I started using the balsam oil, but I don't do that anymore in most cases, unless I use a whole can full. And sometimes I use a whole can full, 6 ounces. But it's not bad. So you got to try the new version.
So Larry said he tried it on some last week on a set of new quality hammers that were very hard. He didn't see it had an effect. He did saturate them. Did you want to come on and give a little bit about your experience, Larry?
Or
Yeah, let's see where you're at. Let me see if I can get you on.
let me get unmuted.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
Yeah, you're unmuted.
oh, okay.
We can't see your video, but you're unmuted.
Yeah, I can't find the place to. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I had a set of Renner Blue Point hammers, brand new hammers, good quality hammers on a Steinway, and they were super hard and loud. I tried my usual voicing techniques, angel shots, and had no effect. And then I tried the Ballistol, and I was conservative at first, but nothing happened. So then I just totally saturated them, and it had a little bit of effect after that, but not very much. I was surprised.
I'm surprised also. The hardest hammers that I've dealt with have been in Kauai, and I have used the whole can, and until I got almost the whole can into the set of hammers,
Oh, wow.
it hadn't come around. But once I got to that point where they were saturated, it did start sounding pretty good. I haven't worked with any of the Blue Points.
Okay. And I didn't use anywhere near a whole can.
Oh,
I thought I had saturated them.
No, you didn't saturate.
thoroughly.
Use the whole can. So I don't
Really?
don't
Wow.
don't be so conservative. You can't do any harm. Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Another try.
appreciate people trying it out. I'm gonna see if Wayne Ferguson said he's got some things to mention about it. But let's see. Are you able to come on camera, Wayne?
Yeah. See me?
Yeah, just a second. Let me see if I can spotlight you. All right. Yep. Thanks for sharing, Larry, and thanks for giving it a try and reporting your results.
This could be a whole class.
Yeah, Wayne, tell me your experience. Is this something that you've tried? I'm not very much aware of it.
Yeah, well, years ago, so I did a lot of, so I don't know how much time you need in this meeting, so you might run out of time, but I'll be quick, but it could be a whole other topic, right? So
Okay.
I was a part of Yamaha Tech team for many years, I still am. About 8 years ago, on one city, there was a technician that was experimenting with silicone. And it was remarkable. He was experimenting on really old upright pianos. He was soaking the hammers. It was absolutely unbelievable. But the problem was silicone, and the way he was applying it was a bit problematic. And so I did some experimenting on old pianos, covering everything up in a way that the hammers were just being soaked or applied to, right? So it wasn't spreading around anywhere else. And that did smell. somewhat, and it didn't last for a
And
long
you're
time.
right now you're talking about the silicone or the
Silicone.
Ballistol? Silicone. Okay.
Silicone, yeah. So I do have Ballistol. I tried it in a couple of sample hammers I have. Yes, it does smell. I don't know if there's two different types, but I was sort of wondering about the longevity, but also I guess maybe how it's applied, because there's always overspray, right? So it's a matter of, yeah, so
The new version doesn't overspray. It's a
Yeah.
foam. So it
it's
goes
a
exactly
foam.
where you want it to go. But
Yes.
I have pianos that I've put it on 15 years ago.
Yeah,
And when I revisit them, usually if I just shake the hammers a little bit, it goes right back to the way it should be. So it
Yes.
does last. It doesn't evaporate away, and it's definitely not a silicone. It doesn't act like that, and it doesn't act like WD-40. So no comparison. This is
yeah,
it is water miscible. It's not water displacing. So that's different than both silicones and WD-40s.
yeah,
What does miscible mean?
Miscible, it will actually mix with water.
Okay. Okay, got it.
It doesn't resist. So it's just a characteristic of the oil, that there aren't many oils that do that.
And does it kind of feel oily to the, like, so after it's
It
on
does.
the hammers? So
It-
one thing I would say, yeah. So I don't know if you,
It's a very light oil.
it feels oily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like a oily quality to it. I mean, one thing I would say, just from the way, I don't know if you saw the video, Wayne, when he showed the application of it, you can kind of see from the foam is a pretty stationary kind of applicator. You know, much like there's some other things that they put in foam nowadays. So I could see how it could stay pretty stationary. I don't have an opinion on this. I'm just letting people share. But I think, yeah.
I expected some resistance because of the smell anyway.
Yeah.
But the smell is much better now than it used to be a few years ago with the foam. So not so bad. And it's totally safe for felt, wood, leather, anything in a piano.
So let's just a question here, Doug. You know, I mean, just like with, or maybe even Wayne, maybe you've got an opinion on this. As we try new things like this or anything else, I guess, you know, depending on the thing, it could be different answer. But like, you know, what's the approach, right? Is it something you want to try on kind of an old spin it or upright first? Are you going to see a difference quite a bit? Does it need to be tried on a different level of hammer to see a difference? Like, first, Doug, like, what would you say? If somebody wants to try this out, right? They just want to try it out. Yeah. Where would you start?
Like unknown, total experiment, and started out with some spinets that I owned. So I worked my way up to better pianos, but this is 15 years coming. This is not something I did yesterday or last week. So I wouldn't report it if I didn't totally believe it. It's the best thing I've ever used. I've done voicing with just about every possible technique, and this is.
How does it compare? Because there's a lot of talk. So this is another interesting thing, like Paraloid B72. We've done content on that, and you know, there's quite a few people who are really excited about it, with, you know, great reputations in the industry. But it's a new thing, right? That somebody had to try and decide, like, yeah. Have you tried like Paraloid, and how does it compare? And
That's for hardening. I have tried it. And I normally use the keycap dissolved in acetone, and I've gone back to keycap and acetone. I like it a little bit better.
Right, they serve different effects. Yeah, right. But they're both kind of new things, you know, or things that maybe people haven't tried before. They need to wrap their head around. Any other words from you, Wayne, on, like, you know, as people try new things, an approach to take? Is it just kind of the similar that we already mentioned? Just do it on pianos that you have control over, that aren't that important, and then work your way up?
I think when I discovered this was being used, I won't mention the city, but a lot of other technicians started using it. right? So they're just freely going about this. So then I got word that some were using it on higher end Yamahas and they were upset, and also higher end Steinway, so they were not happy. So it's a matter of kind of treading lightly, experimenting. But I understand, Doug, that when you have such a long time of doing the research and you've got good credentials in your past, you know good tone and what pianos sound like. So it's that is something to really listen to, and so it's a matter of. But I think if someone is coming into this new, there's always sort of precautions on how to if you're going to apply it, what are you going to apply it to, and then how to be, making sure that, for instance, maybe a customer might be allergic to some sort of odor like that. So here, like if I was going to spray this and then customer notices something's not right or starts having a sort of reaction. So it's just sort of if this was, go ahead.
I've used it on about at least 500 pianos. And as far as, I haven't had many complaints about the odor, except with the older spray can that didn't have the foam in it. But to add a question about higher end pianos, year before last, I was over at ESET Perlman School on Shelter Island, which is mainly a string instrument school, but they have 3 Steinway Ds and at least three 7-foot Bs. And one day I was new to them. They called me in to do a repair. I did the repair, and then they had me work on one of the older Steinway uprights in one of the cottages. And the 2 pianists that were permanent full-time people there tried it, and they liked that. They had me work on the 9-foot grand in the concert hall, and I voiced it and regulated it, and they were in love with that. They had me do all the rest of the pianos that day, and I could do that all in one day, 6 pianos using this method. And there were, actually there were 3 different pianists that tried it, and they all agreed that they loved it. And 2 of those pianos were brand new from Steinway.
I want to check back in with Wayne. So when you said there's somebody using something and then it kind of spread in the area and there was some concern from Yamaha, was that with Ballistol in particular, or was this the silicone thing that you were talking about?
It was a silicone thing at the time.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
But it did really work well. I could tell you that. It was remarkable.
Okay, but it caused problems in some way?
Well, I think because what happened was at the time, the service manager was sort of concerned that that's not their sort of style. Like, Yamaha has their own voicing technique. Steinway does, Busendorf. They all have their. So once you have the managers or powers that be at these different companies, maybe that they're going to be maybe questioning some of these techniques, even though they are working. Someone may have some concerns.
Right.
So
I avoid silicones just generally because they really foul up refinishing. So I don't like to spray them anywhere around it. If you were to walk into an auto repair shop that does automotive finishing and you spray a can of silicone in there, they'll throw you out, literally, because it causes a great deal of harm when you try to refinish it. Things don't
Yes.
stick.
Yeah.
So it's totally different. Silicones are totally different than Ballistol.
Well, thanks for chiming in there, Wayne. Was there anything else you wanted to share on this?
No.
Okay. Cool. Appreciate it.
Get a new can and try it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I haven't even tried it. So, but I would try it maybe on an upright piano that I wasn't too concerned about, and see what happens, and also take note of the smell. I mean, I feel like I have like a sort of imaginative understanding of of this type of smell, like an oil type of smell, like a gun oil type of smell, but it would have been a while since I used it in person. So I would judge for myself. And I think my approach would be, again, at this point in my understanding of it, even with a client, I could say something like, here's this stuff. Here's what it smells like. Check it out. Here's a thing. I haven't tried it before, or, there's some, disagreement about whether this is a good idea or not. Are you willing to try it? And it depends on the customer. Some people want to say, hey, yeah, I'd do anything to get it sounding softer. And yeah.
And the smell is unusual, but the closest thing I would say, it smells a little like a wet dog.
Okay.
Doesn't smell like motor oil or something like that.
Oh, interesting. Well, wet dogs are not my favorite smell, but that's good.
I always cover it.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. I got a couple questions and comments here, and then we can move on to the rest of your presentation, but appreciate the rousing conversation around this.
I just want to say one thing. I just want to say, Doug, thank you for all your work and research on this. It's a good thing that you're doing. And thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Question from, thanks for that, Wayne. David Boyce said, and I'm guessing the answer is no, but I'm curious your opinion. He said, would Ballistol liquid from the bottle work rather than using the spray can? It sounds like that would be you would reduce the kind of consistency that you get out of that can, but what do you think?
It is a different consistency. And I tried to use the non-aerosol for early on because for ecological reasons, if nothing else, just to avoid aerosol, but it doesn't quite work the same. It's a little thicker. And I think the propellant in the can helps dissolve some of the lacquer in hammers that have been voiced with lacquer. So I think it helps it penetrate.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I did report this in a TNT, and the editor replaced my picture of the aerosol can with a picture of the bulk oil, which was not my preference. But
where did you report it? Was it
the TNT in the Guild Journal?
Okay, got it. In the Guild Journal. Okay. Carl said, since it doesn't evaporate, maybe except for the propellant or the foam, you're adding 6 ounces of weight. Does this seem to affect the touch in any way?
I haven't noticed it. Neither of any of the customers. It's spread out over 88 hammers, so it isn't that much.
And then it looks like this is Judy. Judy asked, how much acetone, this is sort of change topic, do you put with key top when you use it? She heard Kawai key tops work best. What are your opinions on that?
Well, I have a broken set of plastic key tops. I don't even know the brand. It was from Piano Supply. I put I think it's two keycaps in a pint of acetone.
Okay. Larry, comment about silicone. Concern with silicone is that it infiltrates into the pin block or the finish of the case. It can cause big problems. Interesting.
Yeah.
Silicone roams. Judy said, doesn't silicone roam? I'm not sure what that means, but yes, it migrates. Okay.
Hey, but let's get off the silicone because
all right. We weren't talking about silicone.
Silicone.
All right. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. All right. Well, we got through all the questions and comments. Appreciate that. You want to get back to the presentation?
Sure.
All right. Let's do it. I'll bring that up. And then we'll get through last week's presentation. We're getting on the topic of kind of sprucing, how to improve, pianos in a fun way. And then if we have some time, we'll get into the topic of bass strings. All right, here we go. There. All right. So yeah, you just let me know about slide changing and whatnot, and we'll move through it.
Okay, this is about where we left off. I was talking about what you do with minor scratches in pianos, and you can make most of them disappear very nicely with this Restore Finish by Howard.
Yeah,
a lot of local hardware stores carry this.
great stuff.
I did emphasize when you use this, always use the golden oak initially, even if it's a dark walnut piano, because the golden oak will seal the pores of the wood fibers first, darken it a little, and then if you need more darkening, you can follow it with a dark walnut, or they got a mahogany. It has a little redder color, and you can titrate in the darkness that you want carefully with the dark walnut. I made the mistake one time putting dark walnut on a dark walnut piano with deep scratches, and it ended up even darker because the broken fibers of the wood picked up more dark walnut dye. So this is thin, like a no, that's the wrong direction. But we're going backwards. There you go. Yeah, so that's a very thin product that goes on like almost like water. So if you want something that will fill scratches a little deeper, I've used this gel stain from Old Master. I've used other gel stains and none of them quite compare to Old Master. So, frequently I'll use this Old Master to darken a sun faded piano, like the one on the next slide. This is a rosewood piano. This one actually belonged to Queen Elizabeth II, was given to her chambermaid, and eventually sold to an event center on the South Fork of Long Island. And it was sitting in front of a whole wall of windows. It got very bleached. I would have liked to have gotten it back to rosewood color, but the owner had gotten used to the blondish color. And he said, don't go too far with it. So I didn't, but I used gel stain. This is just after one coat of gel stain to darken it, make it look more like rosewood. And you can see it has a dull finish, so then you have to brighten that. And for that, I used French polish. On the next slide, you can see the result of brightening. So that took about 4 or 5 hours of French polishing, from a dull finish to a high polish finish. But it came out very nice, and as French polishing almost always does. There are quicker and easier ways to get a high polish finish. But on a high-end piano, I still like the French polishing. Unfortunately, Koenig's French polish is no longer available. And I gave a couple of presentations at the guild meetings in St. Louis and also in Seattle, and taught about 50 people in each location how to use Koenig French polish, but now it's off the market. The nearest thing to that is the Mylans. I've tried a bunch of different ones and nothing works quite as well, but Mylans works almost as well. And it needs just a little bit of lubrication on the pad. And for that, a drop of Ballistol works just fine. This is the finished piano. This is about 1900 piano, Broadwood. It's still in the window, and no doubt it will probably fade again someday, but that's where they wanted to leave it. One of the other finishes that I use on lower end pianos for a quick shine is this Waterlox tongue oil finish. Minwax tongue oil finish is pretty good, but the Waterlox is better. The Waterlox has a little more odor than the Minwax does, but both of them work pretty well. If you have a finish that just almost a ground glass finish, and you want to brighten it up because it's been degraded over the years, this works quite well. Another product that I like for small pieces, not necessarily big areas, is the finish up that Mohawk sells. And this is water-based and pretty low odor. easy to wipe on. But if you're doing a whole piano top, it's a little hard not to get any streaks with this. So, you know, on legs works fine. On a key cover, I'd use it. Side of the piano probably work okay. But I haven't developed a good enough technique to do the whole top with just finish up. Pretty good product though. I'm not disqualifying it. Black pianos is a different subject. Nicks and chips are very common. I use this paint marker from the Michael's craft store. And this is not a Sharpie magic marker. This is truly paint. This is lacquer in a marker. And I used it just this morning of touching up a black ceramic piano. Works very nicely. Very, very dense black, which is hard to find. So I also use nail polish sometimes. It's getting a little easier to find than it used to be. Used to be, I only found it around Halloween when people were dressing up and doing their nails. In fact, the next slide. This is nail enamel. Nail enamel is really good paint. I mean, when you consider it several dollars for an ounce of this stuff, it really is good quality lacquer. Probably some of the best you can get. I do recommend getting a major brand and be sure you get a jet black so that you don't get any sprinkles of glitter or something in it. But a good brand is very, very good dense black lacquer. Another one, I don't have a slide for this, but another really good dense black, which is hard to come by. Generally, I like Duplicolor automotive spray paint called Universal Black. And it's as good as a BMW black, which is just about the densest black. Most of the American paint companies, Rust-Oleum and others, their black paints look gray relative to some, you know, high-end black pianos. So if you want to spray a leg or something like that, the Duplicolor Universal Black is pretty good. And Koenig has a very good black blending paint, blending lacquer. It's not a lot of solids in it. It's made for blending, but it's very, very black. So it's nice for blending in repairs. When you're building up a chip with, say, gel nail polish, build it up a little bit proud, and then I use glass slides. I'm a pathologist after all. I use glass slides that are really sharp, straight edge. They will flex slightly, just like you can flex a steel scraper, and you can use the edges to scrape down a blob of nail polish after it dries hard and get it completely flush without using sandpaper. And it'll just take down, if you're careful, you'll just take down the bulge on the fill and not damage the surrounding area. And then I'll just touch up the gloss with a little dot of French polish on a rag. And that works great. But
I'm
these
gonna cut
edges are very straight and sharp.
I'm going to cut in here real quick, Doug. I just want to let folks on Facebook and YouTube know we're about to sign off there, but if they want to join us, I put a link in there so they can register and get into the Zoom call and say hello to someone from the United Arab Emirates is watching us out of Bio Israel Bright. Hello out there on Facebook. Good to see you. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Get back to it, Doug.
Okay, apologies for people overseas. They probably can't get most of these brands of products. But at any rate, there we are. Sometimes